So it looks like it's working. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. Yeah, it worked. Cool. And hopefully my internet works well enough today, because I've had occasional issues on Friday afternoons with that, but we shall see. All right, so
Yeah.
Looks like Shady is here already. Hi, Shady. How's it going? And for anyone just joining, this is the GitHub location that we're going to be looking at. Is this Ardalis.Specification? It's available on Nuget with the same name. And currently it's on version 4.2. We've made a bunch of updates that we're going to review today for version 5, which is out in beta. And if all goes well, we'll ship version 5 here during the stream in just a few minutes. So I'm Ardalis Steve Smith. I have with me Fatih Esseni, who's done a lot of work on the project recently. Go ahead and say hello, Fatih.
Hello, everybody. So this is me. I'm Fatih Esseni. I run my own company. We provide consulting services and end-to-end product development. You can find me everywhere like Fisseni. So here are the information. That's all about me. Today
Awesome.
we're talking about specifications. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to let him go ahead and take it away for a few minutes. He's sharing his screen, which we should see here. That looks good.
Okay, let me just pull the news changes here. Okay, good.
All right, and then one quick thing before I let you take it away. Shady, since you're the first one here, can you just confirm that all our audio sounds good? Because last time I tried to do a Skype guest, I had audio issues and I didn't end up getting them fixed until like 5 minutes in. So everything good on sound? Yes, it's great. All right, cool. Take it away, Fatih.
Okay, great then. So what we have here now, we're about to ship the version 5 of this package. We have quite many changes. So in version 4, we had a major refactoring because we added all those builders, specification builders, and we refactored so you can write all your queries in link style somehow. So that was the big one. And right now at version 5, we're also going to ship some new features. We're going to clean up some stuff. We're going to streamline some stuff, etc. Everything is already ready. As I think so. We have some just small tweaks to do. And we'll just go through all the features that we have added and just explain them one by one, I guess. Yeah. So actually, let me open. Okay, let me get to the project, to the list of the issues, and you can go through them as well. These were the open issues. We have added some additional stuff beside everything that is here. First of all, we added support for better support actually from the include query. So let me explain that part. And where do we have? I guess here. And picture specifications. Let me grab something with include. These are strings. Yeah. So this was available since version 4, but as you can see in version 4, we were able just to use a selector expression here. So you can't make something complicated here. You can write it and you can do this. Okay. Because it's not available here. And right now in the news version, you'll be able to do that because you'll be storing previously whatever expression you have wrote here. We parse that to string and we have saved that as string in the specification, and then during the evaluation process we called the include methods of entity framework, which accepts string as navigation path, not as expression. So in this change, okay, we can go through the. Let me just show the usage. I think we had refactor, yep. So we did some more clever stuff, I guess, I might say. And right now, if we can check the specification, we are saving as include expression info. We have a specific type for that. So whatever you have written in there, it will be saved as lambda expression. And also we have all this information regarding the types, because of course we are chaining include and then include. You will have as a parameter the previous property, and then you can continue, etc.
Hey,
And
Vadi,
right now, yeah.
can you bump up your font size a few notches?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. I forgot I'm on stream actually. Yeah, as I was saying, right now, because we refactored this part, you'll be able to use the where includes, the filtered includes in the specifications. So we'll be supporting, I think, in the issues. I'm sorry that I'm switching so fast from window to window. Yep, this. So now we'll be able to support this kind of queries, because anyway, we're not doing something extremely special, actually. We just found a way how to persist these expressions somehow in an abstract way, not using the entity framework namespace in the core package. So we are saving this in an abstract way, and after that, during the evaluation, we restore the original expression and we're just passing to the EF Core 5. So whatever EF Core 5 supports as a parameter for include, it should be working fine totally if using through specifications as well. The other big changes that we've done is that we introduced new concept in-memory evaluation. So I'll show you in a minute what does that mean. So you'll be able to evaluate specification if you have some in-memory collections. And you also refactored, we did some cleanup in the evaluation part, because previously everything was as one big method within one big class called specification evaluator. And right now we just divided all of that into partial evaluators. This will enable for you to write your own evaluators if you want so you don't have to rewrite everything, but you can use already provided partial evaluators here, and you can build your evaluator more effectively just with the pieces that you want to add on top of it. We can go after in details if we are interested how all this stuff are implemented, but I don't think that it's your concern. You probably want to see how to use all of that and how to utilize everything that is given as a part of the package. Steve, I'm a bit lost here. Actually,
we've got a
how
sample.
we should proceed.
Why don't we at least look through some of the things in the sample? I don't think we've added all the newest features to it, but it's okay to review a couple of the older ones too, because I expect some people won't have seen any of this.
Yeah.
So like, how do we use a specification in our code, in our app?
Exactly. Exactly. We provided one small sample application here. Okay, if this my default project, let's run it and see what we did last time.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot there, but it should show you like a list of customers or something like that.
Yeah, it was. Just go through it. Okay. I think we refactor this address. Okay, we'll fix that part.
Probably
so what is the
migration applied? Perhaps.
Maybe. Checks. Okay, we have controllers. So here we have two methods only: get by ID, by name, by string actually, and we have this method customer filter.
But also look at the pages, because it's a Razor Pages app, so that'll be where some of the other code is too. Yeah, that's what you're seeing on the initial run.
Yeah, this should be, but okay, let me just go here then by descending order. Let me just find the error here quickly. Here. Okay, we have issues with it didn't.
Yeah, it's still using address on later on that same file. And
We have
check the code behind on the Razor page. I'll bet it might be a good place to start. But there's address.
This is string actually. Yep. This is string. Read once again the error.
Yeah, if we added address and we didn't do a migration, it's possible that your database you're talking to doesn't have that column on it.
Yep. Customer, no, we have address here.
Well, let's look at the database in SQL Object Explorer. So a lot of the testing for specifications, you really have to have a real database for. If you just use like entity frameworks in memory, it doesn't work too well.
Let me just nuke this one and see what's going on.
Yeah, I'll just create it again. And I don't know if this is configured to automatically create the database. Hopefully it is.
I did it last time.
Okay.
It's working. Yep. Yep, this custom.
No, it works.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Must have been something with the database. All right, so that's our select customers. I think the code behind has a hard-coded filter that it's using. So if you want to try it with different filters, just mess with the code behind index CSH.
Okay, on index.html, we are taking.
Look at the code behind.
Those.
There we are.
Yep, here we are. So we are using here the specification that accepts string. It's customer binding, right?
Yep.
Last time we were testing caching here. That's why I did all these changes. That's to see how it affects, etc. Okay, let's just go and explain what we can do inside the specification. Let's start from the beginning because there might be new users. So what is all about? With specifications, we create objects that hold information for particular query that we want to run at some point in the future. So while writing your specification, you are not running any query. You're just writing your intention and you're writing all the required information. So afterward, you can build the query and run against some ORM that you'll be using. So we tried here to mimic the link usage, so it will be should be very easy for you to pick it up easily and fast, and it's very familiar. So this query notion. Okay, first of all, whenever you want to write your query here inside the specification, you start this word with this property that is called just query, and this is done just as a convenience. Why? Because in this way you won't have to remember all of this stuff, all the methods or properties that are given in the specification. First of all, it's just easier to remember just one word, query, and then you can go and check whatever is available for a particular specification.
Yeah? Yep. Just use we have IntelliSense-driven development.
Exactly. So this was the query by itself doesn't have any importance in the functionality of all this process. It's just convenience for you and nothing else. So here, IntelliSense will give you all the available options that you can do. So we have where, and that's familiar. You are creating criteria, whatever you want here, and you can change this. You can do, not necessarily you have only one where, you can do more of them, right? Example. After that, you can order stuff. We have multi-level ordering, and that's also possible for the include statements. And we did some other improvements before. After you get to this second level, you have to start with query again, and right now you don't have to do that. You can just continue and say include for that. Okay? So here we are including stores. After stores, I want to include store.
I don't think it has anything, but okay,
yeah, I
sure.
guess so. App Store. Nope. If we had some, let's just save this.
Right.
This would have been a valid statement. It doesn't make sense because anyway we are starting with customer, but just to showcase the syntax here. After that, you can do pagination. You could say take. You can use. What other options have we have here? Okay, this pagination is just a wrapper overtake and skip, and we already marked this obsolete, and we shouldn't be using that one because we'll be taking it out most probably. We also have the feature search, and search actually during the evaluation process will be evaluated as a like operation in SQL. So whatever you write here, let me just see what was the usage because I also forget. So yeah, this usage, you have to provide which property, okay? In customer, I want to search for email and I want to say, let me just, yeah. So, so all email addresses that contain some ABC string in them. Okay, and right now we have some other additional features that are kind of tightly coupled with Entity Framework Core 5 because previously they were not available. This is split query. S-node tracking was available previously as well, but okay, we have support for that one also. We'll talk about what enable cache does. And I guess these are all the options that are that you'll be able to use in order to create effectively your queries. First of all, this is not to replace your ORM. Okay, if you have something really complex query that you want to have some, I don't know, you want to take the minimum, maximum, or you want to do some on the database side, etc. For those complex situations, it's our problem just to go and create your own repositories, right? So here we have some sample, for example, custom repository. You can, this custom repository, you can have some additional queries that are not available through specifications. And you can have all those complex queries and use it as that. And customer repository, you'll keep your contract, your interface, you'll keep on the core project and you'll implement it in the infrastructure project. Okay, so with the specifications, our intention is at least, if not all your queries, most probably most of your queries in your application will have some form or combinations of these features. So at least 80% or 90% of your queries can be created in an abstract way through specifications, and you'll have just 10% as additional complex queries that you can't abstract in your core project, in your domain project, and you have to implement it explicitly in your infrastructure project directly using Entity Framework or any other ORM that you have. Okay, here in this version, we want to introduce something else. because we have seen that people avoid using specification. Why? Because they don't want to use repositories. So if you go, okay, in the services, so not a lot of people are comfortable, or they just don't like repositories because they are additional abstractions over DB context, and there is ongoing argument if DB context already is a repository, which is true, yes, of course. I mean, unit of work and DB sets are already repositories in some form, but if you follow some principles, it's really wise to have your own abstraction so you can control better. But if you don't like that, now you'll have opportunity to work directly with entity framework and directly with DB context. For example, here, what is the context in these applications? It's called sample. Okay. So right now, for example, you want to utilize customer by name specification. Right now you can do the same in this form. You can say with.
It's supposed to work.
Yeah, okay, let me see the namespaces.
It should help you. It should let you control that.
I'm not sure why it didn't. Okay.
Now it's there. All right.
And we have customer by names.
I'll blame Visual Studio.
And we can say the framework core. So in this case, actually you're doing the same thing, but you no longer have the argument to complain that you don't want repositories. So right now you can use this one and work directly with DB context. And what does this enable? So instead, for example, imagine that this customer by name is some query that will be used very often and very frequently in your application. It's really wise to have it in one place and then utilize it from several other places, right? So this, as you can see in this query, everything is encapsulated within this class, within this specification. By the way, because you like to work directly with DB context right now, you can continue and do something else, right? For example, if you have those complex queries or you want to make some sum on the DB side, you can have the specification here and continue and doing sum on already evaluated criteria that are located in the specification. But you have to be careful here. For example, if the specification contains some pagination, some take, some skip, etc., so that might give you wrong results if you continue to evaluate the query. So this is because with specification returns like queryable, we have here leaky abstractions, we might say, but this is done intentionally because we want to give you the freedom to work that way if you wish to.
Yeah, the nice thing about that approach is that it lets you still have this catalog of named criteria, these named queries that are part of your domain model, and you can share them and reuse them and not have to reinvent the wheel with a whole bunch of link statements every time you want to make a query on a different controller or a different service in your application.
Exactly. Indeed, that's the case. Actually, I was not very correct because probably we have new users. So let me just show you the overall layout. How does it look? For example, if you're following some, I don't know, onion architecture, some domain-driven, okay, domain-driven design not necessarily should look like this. You can have only one project. It's totally fine. But if you like this layout where you have some core project, you can name it domain, you can name it however you want. And this core project, as you can see, There is no any dependencies here other than the framework itself and some tool packages. Okay, we have here guard classes and using specification. But if you look inside the specification, actually, we have only guard clauses. We are not dependent on any infrastructural framework. Okay. This specification package is completely dependent only on BCL, and in this case, I haven't noticed it's dependent on guard clauses as well. So you are totally fine here. Your domain project will persist through time as totally independent from any UI or infrastructural concerns. Okay, and that's our intention, right? So specification, what they enable you in this case. Because usually how to, in order to implement this kind of infrastructure, what do? You keep a bunch of repositories here, right? Because repositories are implementations upon, again, some ORM, right? And you are keeping here a bunch of repositories. And in the domain project, in the core project, you most probably will have interface from all those repositories, right? And what's the benefit of having specifications in this case? For example, if you didn't have the specification, all that implementation logic is not living in your domain, right? So you have no idea. You have expressed only just your intent, what I want to have, get customers, probably, right? You have here the intent through the interface, but all the details of implementation live somewhere else. So whenever you wanna replace this ORM, you wanna replace this persistence project with some different data store, different ORM, you have to re-implement everything, right? And right now with specifications, we have the benefit of writing the query in some abstract way, right? And here in the infrastructure project, actually, we are not doing any kind of implementation. So if I want to replace this, and instead of utilizing EF Core 5, I want to do EF6 entity framework 6, I can replace all these implementations that are located in the infrastructure project within just a couple of hours, because there is nothing important here, except some extra queries, those used in special cases. So you have much less thing to re-implement. And even more important, all these queries will be living in your domain, and the intention is the domain project to persist through time. So you have that for 10 years or 15 years, etc.
And it's easier to test. Some of these queries
Exactly.
you can only test for real if you're hitting a real database, right? Like if you're checking that include works, you probably have to hit the database. But if you have some complex where condition of how you want to filter your data, you can create unit tests for those and just have a collection or a list that you run these things against. And we'll show how that works easily in a little bit as well. But it makes it so that you can test that logic much more easily than if it was inside of your infrastructure layer in some implementation details, or worse, in a stored procedure or something like that.
Yep. By the way, lately I kind of changed my convention. I'm using both conventions, but I changed my convention of naming because sometimes I find it tedious to name the specifications as customer by name with stores ordered. It's getting too long. Probably you want to name the specification by the intended usage. For example, in my applications, I have customer for invoice, customer for order,
Mm-hmm.
because at the place that I'm calling the specification, for example, in some order service, right? I really don't care what stuff I have to include with the customer. I don't have to remember. It's much shorter, and it's much more verbose to name customer for invoice. So whenever I need the customer in those order services or invoice services, I can reason much easier with that kind of conversion. But it's up to you, and you can name it as however you want. It's
Yep. Yeah,
based on
it's
your
nice because you can
imagination.
pick whatever way makes sense for you. Something I do a lot is reference the aggregate in the specification, because when you want to retrieve an entire aggregate, you want it to have all of its children with it. And so for a complicated aggregate's a domain-driven design pattern. instead of having a specification that says, client with orders and addresses and whatever, like that's just too verbose. But if you just say, client aggregate, then if you understand aggregates, that you're just getting the full aggregate back.
Yep. So you can create your own convention, whatever is convenient for you and your team, and you can go on, no problem. By the way, I want to also show you how you can very easily jump and start using specification. One of the reasons that we introduced here, except that the ability to have here IntelliSense, okay? Also, if you notice, all of these are already standard names that are used in Linker. And let me show you what you can do, how you can leverage that actually. Imagine, okay, here we were using okay, so imagine somewhere in your code, in your repositories, you have this. Yes. Okay, this is not available. You need imagine you have your repositories, right? And for example, any method in your repository or somewhere in your application, your controls, maybe you're utilizing DB context directly from your controls, right? And now you decide to use specifications. And it's very easily, because it's almost the same naming, except that search feature, because it's something specific to us, you can just copy all of that, right?
Right.
You can create this and you can just paste here, and this will work. Okay, you don't need to materialize here. This is all you need. So it's really easy somehow. If you decide to use specification, it will be really easy to refactor your code, because you don't have to, I don't know, to invent something special here. You're just doing copy and paste, right?
Right.
So that is
And
very convenient.
you could just add one specification to start. You don't have to rewrite your whole app. You don't have to
Of course.
introduce all kinds of extra stuff everywhere. You just try it in one place and see how that works, and then over time you could add additional ones.
Yep, you can go step by step as you go along the way, and you can completely transfer everything through to the specifications. One new thing, okay, I think I can show you that through the tests. Now you have this feature. I'm sorry. Imagine you have some collection of data in memory, okay, and you want to have some operation against them, right? And now you can leverage specifications exactly for in those circumstances as well. So instead of having logics all over the place, you can create specifications for in-memory evaluation as well. I think Steve had one very good example. If I can find what it was. Nope.
I don't remember which one you mean, or I would help you out.
It was about prime numbers. You gave one example with, okay, I don't remember what it was. Oh, I think I know it. Yep, this is it.
Okay.
So imagine, for example, you need some functionality to
Right. It's up to you to implement that.
okay, I thought it's not in the library. Nevertheless, for example, imagine that you have some logic that for a given list of integer values, you want to find all the primes, and you have some other condition here that are smaller than some limit, right? And maybe you'll be using this in tons of places in your application. So usually what we do, we usually create some helper class, probably. Yeah. It might be static, it might be a singleton instance, nevertheless. And we just group all those helper methods, we group to some helper classes, right? And right now you have the possibility actually to write your specification. And this is very verbose and very descriptive what it does, right? So it does primes less than limit. And in the case, you write your specification, and right now you can utilize this. For example, you have some collection. This get is list of stores, right? So imagine you get here list of integers somewhere, and you just want to find all the primes that are smaller than some limit, and you create your specification, limit 10, and this is what you do, right? Okay, we have syntax error here. So, yeah. So what we did here, so we in this this way you get rid of all those helper classes, because anyway helper classes always tend to grow with time, you know? And they do not have the open close principle, because all the time you go and add something, you remove something from them. They are just utility classes, right? And this is a better solution for those problems, you know. All those methods can live as separate classes, and it's very easier to remove or add more functionalities, more helper stuff. By the way, you don't have noticed here that here now we have the possibility, actually we did even earlier, but it was more prone to errors previously. Right now, you can create specification not of only reference types, you can use value types, as in this case. And it's very interesting, if you are using value types, here we refactor the internal builder infrastructure. So here you, as you can see, you will not be getting any include here, right? You can just order, you can order, but you don't have the include functionality. You don't have no query, you don't have split query, right? Because those operation doesn't make sense in terms of value types, list of collection of value types, right? So we fix that part so it can be much easier for you not to make mistakes here. So if I'm using value type, I have all the features that are available for collection of value types. Okay, and it's not that you couldn't do this previously, but it was much, much harder. Right now, you create a specification, and the specification will expose method evaluate, right? And this method evaluate just accepts IEnumerable of something, and will provide back IEnumerable of something. And then you can do whatever operation you want afterward. So this has nothing to do with persistence. This is just up to your imagination how you can use and leverage specification in some other circumstances, or you want to create some business logic and you want to keep encapsulated in small classes, etc. Okay, let me just remind myself what else we have here.
Do you want to talk about the marker interface we added for single item specifications?
Oh yeah, exactly. Okay. Let me just clean up because I didn't make a complete mess here.
Yeah. Undo all the things.
Let's just do it. Let's undo everything. Okay. Yeah, in the specification package right now we also have this marker interface. The general advice is not to use marker interface. I mean the official guidance by Microsoft. You shouldn't be using marker interface, but instead you should be using attributes, right? It makes the code more clear, and the the argument is that marker interface, it doesn't make sense because they don't hold anything. But if you want to implement it through attributes, you're gonna utilize a reflection probably, and it won't be you won't get that nice strongly typed experience.
Right. You don't get the compile time
Exactly.
restriction.
Not just compile time, but even the Visual Studio will give you those suggestions that no, you can't use this here. You can use, and
yeah, even before compile
so
time.
that's why we went here with with the marker interface. And what this does, let me also in this test, because I think it's easier to find it from here. Sorry, let's just do get by spec. Okay. The point is here. So when the repository, maybe we should talk just shortly for repositories.
Yeah, let's just look at the iRead repository base because it's shorter.
Okay.
And it's got the queries that you want. There we go.
As part of the package, we are shipping also these interfaces and also implementation for these interfaces. Not necessarily you have to use them, but we already thought everything that we could. So you may use them because it's already everything ready, and you can leverage from everything what we already did here. We have here the method get by spec. Okay. So what get by spec does? Get by spec
the EF request. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Get by spec. This just evaluates the specification, okay, and just gets the first or default. This is EF function, right? EF extensions to iQuery. If you click on it, you'll see it's from the assembly entity framework core. Okay. So what does this? It will just find the first or the defaults. It means if it doesn't find, it will return the default value for that type. And usually for reference types, it's null.
Right.
So the point is we want to have one result, right? We don't have a lot of, we're not expecting, and actually we shouldn't get more than one result. That's the point. So in those cases,
but also if it's not there, we want to get back null. So we don't want to.
Yes, exactly. In those cases, we added this marker interface in order to be more descriptive and in order to be more verbose. For example, what this specification should return. So in this case, when we are writing the specification, as you can see, we are passing ID and we are querying something by ID, and we are expecting that we will get just one result, right? And that's why if you add this marker interface, then let's get back to this test. For example, what if I didn't have this one? I didn't have this marker interface. This will yell at me. Okay.
Right.
So what does this do? This actually prevents you to use get by spec with some specification that the query is placed. The query is formed in that way that you will return some list, not just it's not conceived to return only one value, right? So it does just tries to prevent some user type errors, probably. I may say that. So if you have some query where you want to get all the stores, for example, okay. Actually, let's just name it. I have, for example, I write a new specification. I want to get all stores with products, right? And after that, somewhere in my code, I do this.
Right.
It's just a mistake. And at the moment I do this, okay, immediately Visual Studio will yell to you, okay, what are you doing? This is wrong, right? Because you have plans to return list, and here you are just trying to get the one record.
And if we didn't have that could be a difficult bug to find, because it would return all the stores and it would give you back the first store, and your code would still all run. It would just always run with whatever the first store happened to be. But it's probably not the behavior you needed to have.
Yep, it's just a helper to guide you and to try to help you to avoid some errors that you may do in your application. So that's all about this marker interface. This marker interface, Untitled.Specification affects only get by spec, nothing else.
Right.
So
and only for our repository interfaces and implementations. You, of course, can use your own repository or just use DB context directly, and it doesn't affect you at all unless you decide to implement it yourself.
Yep, indeed. Okay. We talked about query split behavior. What query split does, let me just explain a little bit regarding that. Okay, nevertheless, Entity Framework Core 1 and 2 in the background was already using split queries. Okay, what does that mean? If you have a query where you do some include, so you say customers include stores. In the background, what EF did actually created one query to retrieve all the customers and additional query to retrieve all the stores for those customers. So Entity Framework Core produced two queries and it hit the database with two queries independent. That's what is called split queries. And why you want to do that actually? In the Entity Framework Core 1 and 2, they were doing that way because they still couldn't figure out how to combine the parsing of the queries. It was not yet in the level they wanted to be. So in Entity Framework Core 3, they introduced single query. So by default, everything was single query. Okay, so they did great job in parsing all those expressions and creating one query for you. So we have only one DB hit, right? But in cases that you have a lot of includes, in cases where you have a lot of includes, you have to consider the cardinality, right? And there is something called Cartesian explosion. Okay, it's a bit more technical stuff, but in case where you have a lot of includes, so you have a lot of joins, and there are a lot of dependent rows for every principal row, you can get really, really low performance in those cases. So in Entity Framework Core 5, okay, by default, they're still using single query as Entity Framework Core 3, but right now you have the ability, if you want, to split those queries, okay? You have to remember that by splitting the queries, you might face some consistency issues. Imagine that at that millisecond between those two queries, what if at that moment something happened, right? Some other query was produced and somebody wrote or deleted some row, so you will have some consistency issues. But if you're not but if your application is not some application that is getting hit by million requests per second, right? So that possibility is really low, and you might consider using a split query in the occasions or you have a lot of joins to improve some performance in that context. I guess I talked a lot about query split with no particular reason. Okay, S-node tracking, what does? As you may know, presumably you already know, S-node tracking, by default, whenever you read something from the through Entity Framework Core, Entity Framework Core will utilize its own internal change tracker. Why? Because it assumes that you want to manipulate with that data that you already got, and you want to persist the mutations, persist the changes. At the moment, you'll persist, you'll save changes, you'll say save changes to the Entity Framework Code. It will do some clever stuff. It will go through the change tracker, will figure out what exactly is changed, and accordingly will produce your queries about that, update queries based on those changes. But what if you're not planning to do any mutation, you're not planning to do any change to the data and persist the change, you're just having some query read that, right? In those cases, it's smart just to exclude the operation of change tracker because it will just slow down. You want to get some better performance. Those type of queries, you can utilize S-node tracking. S-node tracking functionality, and this will just flag inside Entity Framework infrastructure that for this particular query, I don't want to use tracker at all. And yeah, now we have support through specifications.
And that just gives you a small performance boost, basically. And so when you know you don't need it, you can just turn it off, and that will speed things up by a percentage point or two.
Okay, we talked about filtered includes. Now the repositories that we are shipping, the base repositories, all the methods are virtual, so you can override them and change them as you want. It was a request from our friend here, Niels Gruson. Yep. So we did that too. Maybe I can go through the history here and see all the changes or sorry. We merged that, so I can't see there, but I can see here, I guess. Refactor, okay. So we talked about the in-memory feature. Oh, by the way, what did we break in this version? Previously, we had one feature called in-memory, right? Right now, we renamed that to post-processing action, just to not confuse people with the in-memory evaluators. That's why we renamed this, and it's called right now post-processing action. I don't think that anybody have used this, but anyhow, it's good to remember.
And do you want to talk for a second about why you would use that?
Oh, yeah, actually, we discussed that previously. Let me... I think we elaborated also
there. But I don't know if we talked about it on the pull request. Maybe we did.
Okay, nevertheless, the point here is that okay, you write your intention in the specification. I say intention just to make it clear that nothing is happening at that moment. Okay, specification is just a bag of data. It's just data holder, nothing else. So all that specification builder, all that query that you see, it just, as we said, it's just a convenience for you how to populate those properties, nothing else. So specification is just a list of properties, nothing, a bag of data. And then at the moment that you want to materialize that, intention that you have written, you pass it to the repository, and repository through specification evaluators try to translate all those properties that we hold in specification, translates and passes to your ORM, in our case EF Core 5, and EF Core 5 goes, produces the query, gets the data, and gives us back, right? But what if you have some operation that you want to happen after you get the data? Okay. For example, we have that query here. Sorry, I'm clumsy. Okay, I have something like this, but I want to say after I get the data from database, I want to do something. I want to add some additional logic to the data, to the list of data that I got from the database. Why? And we gave several examples why you might want to do that. Imagine that you have some order entity and you have order item entity, probably, okay? An order item entity might expose event, for example, on update. I am updated, right? And your aggregate, your order might subscribe to that event. So whenever order item is changed, the price in that order item is changed, you want to update your grand total field, your grand total property in your order, right? So you have to remember, if you use events in that particular scenario, you always have to remember to subscribe. Whenever you have that aggregate order, you have to know that order aggregate have to be subscribed to the event of its child order item, right? And it's really easy to forget that step usually. So what you can do here, you can say, for example, post-processing action. And here, if you can see, I'm accepting predicate, actually is func of enumerable customer. Enumerable, yeah. So in this case, okay, I don't have any events here to showcase that.
Pull in link, there you go.
Yeah, but you can do whatever you want. This where will be processed against the data that you got from your database. Right now, this doesn't make sense because this expression you could write over here, right? But imagine, as I said, that you have some operation that you have to process once the data is in your head. And one particular use case in that is just subscribing to the events. Yeah.
Right.
I really explained this badly, so you can pick up here and you can just
maybe we'll get a sample of how to do that in the docs once we've got the docs written. Speaking of which, yep. We should look at the docs. They're not very pretty on the website yet, but they're in the source. So once we merge this in, if you look at the docs folder, there's some structure there that's basically got how this is going to be laid out. And after the initial page, there's really not much there. So this is what's there currently live, which is literally just that overview. And as soon as this gets merged, it'll have a little bit more structure, and it'll probably be all broken because I just did that today and I haven't had a chance to preview it. But this issue number 87 basically has the structure that we're going for to try and document this out. And if any of you are interested in helping out with that, feel free to let us know. I'm going to try and create some issues for these different things so that we could assign them to individuals to work on. But we'll try and flesh this out with some better examples of how this stuff works. And hopefully some people will pick this up and start using it, because I think it's been really helpful for me in a lot of my projects, but I don't see a lot of uptake yet in terms of our Nuget package downloads. So perhaps with this version and with support for DB context directly, maybe that'll help.
Actually, Steve, it's almost 10 o'clock. So we already 1 hour.
Yep. No, I think
stream.
Now it's probably a good time to start thinking about kicking off our publish process. What do you think?
Exactly. Let's just feature. What do we had? Something we have added. Okay. Let's just discuss this shortly.
Okay.
Okay. What does this mean? Let me explain here to everybody. So if you see this I-specification interface and the specification, actually, we are holding here, not that one, yeah, this one. We're using value tuples here. They are named, okay, but it can be very confusing. Do you want to keep this way, or you want to create some specific types for all of them? We should leave it like this as well. What's your opinion here?
You asking me or the audience?
For you, yeah.
I think we should leave it for now.
Okay.
It's totally behind the scenes how that stuff
Exactly.
works. So I think in a
Yeah.
future version, we can change that without it being a breaking change.
Okay. Here. Yeah, this is the discussion. Should we keep the non-generic repository as part of the package or not? I am for deleting it.
You're
I
talking
don't
about
know your
the
opinion here.
iRepository base that just has the method-based ones? That's
Yeah,
what you mean?
I'm talking about this one, yes.
Yeah. So it's still generic, but
Because
it's method generic, not class
exactly,
generic.
I want to say non-class generic. We have this generic in terms of its class generic, and this one is, as you can see, at the level of methods. But once you have this on the method level, some of the usages will be really, really bad, actually. This usage will be bad. Actually, we didn't even apply the iSingle result here because the usage is really bad. So should we go with this one or not?
I think we can get rid of it because we don't want to necessarily encourage it. It's a valid approach, but it has some pros and
Yeah.
cons. I think on the whole, we're not a fan of it. So folks are welcome to implement their own version of it, but we don't have to ship it in the box. So I'm fine to remove it.
Okay, then. Let me
But we can keep
just,
the other one's file name to be of T, just so that's more clear.
of course. Okay, I'm deleting the interface. I'm deleting the implementation here. Once I do that, all this will be yelling.
Right.
Deleting those files as well. Right now, let me just rebuild and see all the errors. Okay, just one of them.
Yeah, looks like we got most of it.
Okay, this is in integration test. Oh yeah, I no longer need this one. Yep, that's great. I'll create commit directly. I'll just say
Sounds good. Yeah, everything related to it has to go there too, so that's fine.
I'm pushing this one.
Yep.
Okay, we got rid of this one. We didn't implement it iSingle result specification for get by spec where we are returning the result. This is also complex. I would suggest in this version just to go as we are, and after that we'll be thinking how to fix not this one, sorry. So if you get here, you see that we have get by spec method which returns the T.
Right.
And if you have selector in your specification, it will have to return the result, right? But for this method, we don't have that constraint that the specification should be marked with iSingle result specification. Because right now, even conceptually, because this is a select, so what does this mean?
You could do a
So
select
I
on a
might,
single row, right? I could say give me customer by
yeah,
ID dot select first name email.
yeah, but you can do also select orders of that customer, right? So it's not very clear. Do you want the first of the result of the select, or if you want the first of the customer, right?
True. Okay.
We should think this more thoroughly, and after that we can make small updates for this part here.
Sure.
Because it's still not clear to me what we want, what is our goal and what we want to achieve. This was the suggestion if you want to divide this to first and single, but we already discussed this and we'll be going with get by spec, right?
Yep.
We have small request also regarding S-node tracking with identity resolution.
Right.
By a random user. If you want to implement this, we can do it right now, and you can do it fast.
I have not used it, so
It's
I don't
a
know
new
how
feature.
important it is, but if it's easy to add, we can just add it. It's only being added to the EF package, so that should be fine.
Yeah. This is a new feature on EF Core 5, and what does it mean? If you are using S-node tracking, because the change tracker is completely out of the game. So if you have the same object part of several entities, those objects right now won't be one object, but they will be duplicated, right?
Right.
Totally, completely different classes, and you have some extra memory footprint, nothing else.
Right.
So this is preventing just to lower that memory footprint.
Yep. It's a minor gain, but it gives you a little extra gain on top of the gain you get from S-node tracking, and it's just memory.
If you want to implement that, we can do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, here we have.
We're gonna prove that we're agile.
Exactly. Okay, S-split query. Let's just name this. What was the original name? S-node.
Yep. And you've got S-node tracking like right above where you are in your code.
Yeah. S-node tracking related resolution. Okay. So we'll add it here. We have to add to the specification as well. By default, it will be false.
Right.
So we have now the property and specification, right? So it's totally correct. For example, if we did this, if we had this, it's totally correct just to pass the value in the specification to say base.s-node tracking and to say to set it true or false.
But we want to add
But
it to
because we are using the query and we want to have that fancy fluent design somehow, we won't do that. And we'll mark this internal, so you can't set this directly, but you'll be setting through the builders, right?
Yep.
So in the specification builder extensions, here I have, okay, a split query. Let me just copy the name once again. Let's just keep it this name. I'm writing extension to a specification builder. Here I have S-node tracking with identity resolution, and I'm returning the builder so you can continue building your query, right? S-split, S-node. Okay, that. Now that I have that, let me just. Okay, no problem. I can add some tags here. Just S-node query. We have here, S-node tracking. This one I can call, okay, and copy pasting it. Yes, I have store empty component binary. What is this file? I can say untracked with identity resolution.
Right. And constructor name.
Yep.
And then we're just verifying that that sets the property, right? We're not actually verifying the EF behavior.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a file, so we have store empty and we have resolution. Should be false, should be true. Nothing special here.
Right.
Let's just build all the solution. And we did some mistake. Net.
There we go. Let's do the other one too. Yep.
test. Right now, we have to utilize this information somehow and to produce the query for entity framework, right?
Right.
So here in the plugin package, in the evaluators, you can create evaluator for this one.
Yep. As we're tracking with identity.
Yeah, I'm boring with this coding. So I'll say
Evaluator.
long name. Get query as no tracking. As you can see, this is no tracking. If I click here, this is part of entity framework core library, right? So we are hitting the correct one. We have to find efficient way how to test if we are calling
Right.
these ones in the evaluators, but I still don't have very good way to do that. Right now, we'll just leave it as it is because it's quite simple, but you have to come up with some good solution how to test this stuff.
Yeah.
In the specification evaluator, I can say here right now, as no tracking. Oh, by the way, because all these evaluators are stateless, right? Because we're not keeping any state here except of this state, but this is fixed. It's not changed during the runtime anyhow. So we don't have any state, and in that case, there is no reason that we should create instances of it all the time, because this is something that you'll be doing very often. So if you have 100 requests, it will be creating 500
Evaluators.
classes just because they evaluate, right? That doesn't make sense. We implement it as a singleton here, and we are utilizing from the specification evaluator, which just goes through all those partial ones and utilize them. Also, almost every construct that we are providing through packages, almost all of them are they enable extensions. So you also can use the same specification evaluator and you pass your partial evaluators here. It's the same with the repositories. If you see the repository base, we are creating the default one, but also you have the opportunity to pass your specification evaluator. So almost all of constructs are open to extensions, and you can play with them very easily as you want. I think we are good here. We don't have anything to add. Actually, I can just...
Let's get a commit for just this, if it's ready.
Let me just run all the integration test locally here. And see if everything is passing, including the integration test. Yep, this passed, everything passed.
Good, good.
And reverting this for Docker. Keeping it. So we added to specification, we created the builder for the new feature. We created the test, a simple test, nothing special, and we added the partial evaluator, and we utilized that evaluator. So I can say edit.
You made it look easy.
Actually, edit support, and we say support for. I'm committing, I'm pushing. I think we have no open issues.
I think we're good. Let's go into the project files. Let's add that as tracking with ID. Let's add that to the release notes.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Let me just go here.
I've been trying to keep this up to date, so let's review what it says there on line 16 as far as what we added. So just make sure I didn't miss anything.
Major refactoring, updated to .NET 5, DB set extensions, it's correct. Post-processor support is correct. Split query, and here we can say not tracking with identity resolution support. Generic constraints.
That's for the single. Did I spell it wrong?
Exactly.
Okay.
Non-generic
We
repository,
ripped that
this
out,
I'll
so
get
that
rid
can
of
get
this.
rid of. Yeah.
New
This is the evaluation of collections, not the evaluators. I'm talking about the evaluating the in-memory collections.
yeah, you're good. Sorry. This is the expose method of the specification, right?
Right.
New single result interface, new repository. Yeah, this edit from.
And some other stuff, but it was all internal. So
Yeah, most probably.
we'll cover
Okay.
that with the.
If I can add also my handle here, it's just the name. I will add the handle as well.
Of course.
Probably it's okay.
And then take beta off. And should we make it 503 at this point? Or just 500? I'm not sure.
I don't know how all that will be listed. Okay, you can do 503.
That's probably fine. All right, and then just copy both of those over into the EF one as well, I think. So the version and the package release notes, both of those elements, I think, can just be copied over. You can do the full XML. They're side by side. So
where is the picture? Okay. Just in case, because I have this. And here I'll just add my handle. And the version will be 503.
okay. Now, did it not like
Okay.
the less than T on the far left? What's it gonna do with
Yep, I
that?
have to escape this.
So ampersand LT.
Why here is liking it and over there now?
That's not good. Or just get rid of the T. We can just say new iRead repository.
Oh, I can see it.
That works. That works.
Okay.
All right.
You can see it. You can see this.
Get rid of that less than T. That closing T. Okay.
Can I make smaller just to see a package?
Yep. It's in two places now.
Sorry guys, I'm clumsy here. This is good.
There we go. All right. Cool.
Just
One more commit.
Okay, let's just be sure that we did the correct 503, okay, package, and 503, we added just this. Yep.
I just realized I forgot to set the title for my Twitch stream correctly. So it's on the screen correctly over there, but not on Twitch.
Should I say directly?
Publish version 5. Sounds good. Commit.
Okay. And this push should trigger the.
I don't know if we have. Do we have the pull request out there
Oh,
yet? I don't think we have
no.
to make it. Yeah, once we merge it to main or master, it should be fine. Yeah. So do a pull request to master.
We have two commits.
It's okay.
Okay.
They're just README or docs things. They're nothing important.
I'm just creating without any comment here.
Yep. I don't want to wait too long for the build, so branch has
Should I go and merge? Or
yeah, go ahead and do it. Merge it.
You want me to merge or squash and merge? Merge. It's
Either
okay.
way,
It's okay. Yes.
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. Doesn't matter.
Sweet. All right, now we can watch the GitHub action. And
we have a lot of stuff here. Okay, this.
Where are you looking?
Sorry.
Oh, you're looking at the commit history. I see. There we go. So as soon as this finishes setup, now this has been failing because the old build was on 3.1 still, but now it's on 5, so it should do everything right. Good. Is it already done? That was really fast.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And if we go out to Ardalis. Oh, no, it's not that fast. Okay, good. I didn't think it would be that fast.
No, this is the other one.
Right.
The specification passed. This is the, okay, this one passed also.
The Docker integration test will take a sec.
We had some warnings here. Let me just see the warnings. What were the warnings? Come on. Oh, okay. Regarding the page 8. Okay.
You can see this was heavily beta tested with our 75 or so downloads that we got on the betas.
I think this. Oh.
Most of those were us, I'm sure, because I'm using it on the Pluralsight samples that I'm building.
Okay, let's just.
Alright, it's running a test now, so it'll be done presently.
This one is already done, yes.
It already published. Yep, good, okay. Sweet. So it's there.
The other one will be soon enough.
Right, and that means that our docs ought to be updated too. So if we go to the docs page, let's see, project site. I'm looking on my screen. If we go out to read the docs, ooh, look at that. That's pretty. So, what'd you get? Integration test fail? Okay.
No, it was talk about
on the Docker one, yeah.
Actually, yes. Why I can't open this one right now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Let me just go. Oops. Something failed. We have 56 and 56 passed.
Right, everything passed, but then it still says it failed. Aborting on container exit, stopping. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's confused about something. Looks like everything worked.
Yep, I don't know if the task for publishing worked out. I think because of the error, it didn't publish right now.
You're looking for the EF core one, right? It's
yeah,
it published it. It was published 3 minutes ago. So it worked. It's just the build step that's failing for some reason, but the publish step doesn't care because it's a separate job.
Yeah, but we have 503. Okay, no problem.
So if you go back to the GitHub homepage and then click on the docs link, the outline of the docs that I created is out there now. So not there, but go to the homepage, go to the README, and then just click on read the docs GitHub pages. That one.
Oh yeah,
it's there. So we got docs.
That's great.
So we need to flesh them out. And the next thing I'll do is I'll create some issues for folks to do that. You got to click on the links because there's no pages there really for most of them yet. But if you click on the actual top level, it'll show you what's supposed to be there. It's just not there yet. So.
Okay, this is great.
It will come.
This also. We'll fix this part. Okay.
Yeah, and that overview, patterns used, quick start guide, that's all supposed to be in another section. It's supposed to be under getting started, so that didn't work the way I expected, but we'll get there.
Okay, we're good here. We have new version and we have half an hour to continue with whatever we want. What is this cheating? Okay. So what else we can talk about here?
Well, what do we want to do next? What's our versioning strategy going forward? Because we talked about tying the EF one to shipments of EF core, which means we won't ship an EF version 6 until November is the expectation. Or at least not before then. Maybe it'll be after then because we'll have to see what they've come up with by then. But other than that, what's on our backlog of issues? We can go through the issue list now and start closing things. That'd be another thing we can do.
Yep, that will be a great idea. Okay, this issue will be still open, and we have great support by Connor here. He is adding documentation right now. Most probably right now we screwed a lot of stuff regarding documentation.
Yep.
We moved a lot of files, but hopefully he'll pick up and continue this. So, okay, this can leave. Specification is usage improvement for preloaded data. This is that in-memory evaluator that we already did.
Yep.
We can say here
implemented
this
in V5. You want to say in V5 and then just copy that because we're going to say that for everyone.
Okay, but let me just, nevertheless, in the version 5. Is this good?
Sure.
Close the comment. Virtualize repository-based methods.
Yep. That'll help some people.
Okay. What else we have? How to use filtered include in specification. Okay, we fix this part.
Yep. Thanks for the follow, Falf1004. Appreciate it.
Improve SNO integration. Yes, here Slivar, I don't know how to pronounce that. He helped us out here.
Yep. Clivar, I don't know.
Although
Connor, the query split, that's all good now.
Issues here, what we have, split query, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Random, so. How to use specification repository. We did a little change here. Initially, it was the idea was to name it apply specification, but probably this sounds much better. So we have DB context, customers, use specification, you list the specification, and in the end you run the materializing extension of the EF core. So okay, organize doc site, add entity framework, add framework core support. Also done. So right now we have no open issues. We have only to add support for Entity Framework 6. I don't think that a lot of people are all, or maybe they are using, I'm not sure, especially probably people using, working with desktop applications. They might still be stuck to, if they are using WinForms, for example, they might be stuck to .NET Framework, and probably they are using Entity Framework 6, I guess.
Even WinForms, you can move to .NET Core now. But if somebody wants to,
I don't think.
I say if somebody wants to do this for us, I think we would take it as a pull request. Like I said, and we already had one that was sitting out there that just needs to be updated, right? So
we have by Niels.
Yeah. So if Niels wants to update this to fit our new structure, which I know is asking a lot because he's already done it once, but that would be awesome. I do think one thing, if you've got an older app that's running on .NET and you're using EF6 still, and you're trying to figure out how to get it to .NET Core, if you can start using specifications and pull more of that logic into your core library, so it's not scattered around throughout your MVC5, your Web API 2 project, it'll make it easier when you go to update because there won't be as much code inside of your ASP.NET project. So I think it would be worthwhile for some companies as a stepping stone before they migrate fully to .NET 5, if they're willing to do that. And I don't know if he watches Twitch at all. I haven't seen him on the stream before. But hey, thanks for the follow, 4bits. I appreciate it. All right, cool. So
Okay. So that's it, I guess.
that's it.
We have no other issues. What time is it? Yeah, we have
And
half an hour left.
I'm fine for us to wrap it up here shortly because I want to take the YouTube version of this and put it on the site, and I don't want it to necessarily be longer than it needs to be, since folks watching YouTube usually have an attention span of about 5 minutes anyway. So, any last things we want to talk about here, real quick, before we wrap it up?
No, we for this stream we were not so prepared, so that's why maybe we didn't cover everything. But anyhow, it was ad hoc stream. It was nice to chat with you, Steve,
Likewise.
and hopefully people will start using more specification.
Exactly. So great. Thanks for driving things today and for all your work building up the project. Most of these changes, I know you did and you drove, so I really appreciate that. And I'm finding
My
them
pleasure.
useful in the projects I'm building today. And you've been a great influence on the project, so I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I will let's see if there's anybody that we want to try and raid with our stream. I don't usually stream at this time, so I'm not even sure who's around. But I'll bring that up real quick and see if there's somebody that we can attack with our users. Is it there? Create a dashboard. Who is online? Raid channel. No, nobody. Nobody that I follow is online. That's unfortunate. What about where's my button for live coders? Live coders on Twitch. Looks like this. So we've got me and I don't know most of these people.
Oh, he hit the fucking ghost.
I don't know what that look like gaming. You want I guess I want to mute it. That's what I want to do. Yeah, I don't know. I might just punt on the whole raid thing because I don't see anything that looks that exciting. Most people are playing games, it looks like. So I'll just wrap it up here, and we'll skip the raid this time. So thanks everybody for joining us this Friday, and hope you got something out of it. Hopefully you'll check out the new specification Nuget package on your next project. And if you have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at Ardalis or Fatih as at Faceni. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.